It was with only a small amount of hesitance that I decided to lace up the Skechers Aero Razor for today's long run. And I gotta tell you, it did not disappoint. Spring came and went, and as I predicted, it will be one long February for the rest of eternity in Rochester, New York. And as such, it is the 20-mile day, the Sunday, the Church of the Holy Long Run I am about to attend. That's all I have. Let's go.
If you wanna run with me, there's some things you gotta know. If you wanna run with me, there's some things you gotta know. Well, if you run with me, there's some things you gotta know. I like my shoes fast and my drop down low. Run with me. I like run with me. If you want run with me. I like run with me. If you want, I like my shoes fast and my drop down low. Give it to my chest right.
Definitely a bit of a tough start to the run today. I just feel tired, my legs hurt, and I guess that 100 miles caught up to me just in time for the long run. But I do feel like I am settling into it finally, and I'm about 5-ish miles in, and I'm keeping it to the city. I wanted to go out to the lake, of course, because I discovered how relatively easy that would be to do, but with the snow, even if it's not a substantial amount of snow, I'd rather wait until a nicer day. And it's supposed to be like snowing for the rest of the day, basically, so it'll accumulate. It's gonna stay cold. Still better than it was a couple weeks ago. I gotta remind myself that spring is on the way. Once I got up to cruising altitude in these, which is sitting around 8-minute pace, I am actually just on cruise control. This might be a pretty locked in run, so you'll hear from me when you hear from me. Here I am in beautiful East Ave neighborhood. I am pretending to be affluent, part of the aristocracy. I feel rich right now. Rich with history, with culture, with real estate, with nicer cars. It's good to be alive in this rich time. One of the challenges as I get deeper into my running journey is that it takes a lot longer to warm up for me to get into a rhythm, and like I just generally feel stiff and unwell as I'm starting runs, and it takes, instead of like 2 miles to get into it, it might take 4 or 5 miles to get into it, which isn't the most desirable thing, but once I'm in it though, I feel like I could go forever. So it's definitely a favorable trade-off. Like, I'd rather it be this way than when I first started running, because that stayed miserable forever. Even when I was warmed up, I was still miserable. And now it's miserable a lot for a little longer, and then it feels really good. I don't know if you guys can identify with that. It's a bit of a word salad. I'm in a zone that I could only describe as church town. Castleville. Stone building land. See, it's actually a university, and I don't know why it's called that, because I don't think there's a university around. It's the road I'm on, right? I'm about to find out. I just went by the Memorial Art Gallery. It's a very pretty modern art facility. Yeah, I'm on University Ave, but not exactly sure what it's necessarily called that. Bobbing and weaving. Ever since that middle schooler shouted, "Stay hard," at me at mile 10, I've been staying hard. It's been a fun one, been a fast one. 20 miles, 7:56 pace. That was a good feeling run. All of the pace was in the second half, too. It was like maybe from mile, when the stay hard guy stayed hard. Yeah. Skechers Aero Razor really got out of the way. What it does not do is it does not feel assistive in the same way that carbon racers feel. Like, it's not gonna give you that 30 seconds that you're looking for. But what it's giving me is just like a completely sensationless ride where I feel, other than like the compression, the shallow compression, and then the punchy pop off the forefoot or like wherever I'm landing, other than that, I am not feeling anything with the shoe. And like, that's just so nice. I really like that feeling. One thing I do feel though right now is a little bit of heel pain. And that could be, I do get that intermittently, because the first 3 months of my running journey, some 2+ years ago, I had plantar fasciopathy in both fascias. And it creeps in occasionally, especially if I go barefoot in the house a lot, or if I wear lower drop shoes for an extended period of time. And now this is, I think, 63 miles total in 4 or 5 days in the Aero Razor. And said it's a lower drop shoe, so I could see if that became an issue. But even stopping and walking, pacing back and forth right now, it's going away already. It was really the last like quarter mile, I want to say, that I started to notice that. It was hard at first to get these turning over, but I don't know if that's the shoes or if that's the 100-mile week of it all. I feel freaking great right now. That was a really nice run, because normally by the end of the long run, I am dragging it in a little bit, and I feel like my body's just like giving up and I'm dying, and like, you know how long runs are. Especially, this is something I have not mentioned yet on this channel because I keep forgetting. I got Invisalign a few weeks ago, and I have not been able to eat gels on the run at all, because you're not supposed to like put sugar in the tray, like while you have the trays in, and because it could like get into the trays and start to dissolve your teeth because it's sugar, and that's all that gels are. So I'm gonna have to figure something out eventually for that, or I'm gonna do this entire block and my next race without gels, which is borderline psychotic, and I don't want to do that. But I was always saying, like, I want to put myself on a gel budget, so this has helped with that, I guess. Otherwise, I am buzzing from that. That's a buzzing type of run. I am watching a friend's dog right now, so I'll show you in a second what he looks like. It's Max. Max is a good boy. I will see you all in a second.
Yeah, Max, my Max? Oh, Hawky dog! Hawky and Max! And Max and Strider and Hawk and Max, and Max and Strider and Hawk. Let's go. You just wanna go outside? Oh, Hawk, you're gonna need help, huh? Yeah, you gotta go this way because you're dumb. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, there's Max. Yes, he's right there. Yes, he is. Yes. Oh, yeah. Go.
And we're back in the studio with the Skechers Aero Razor. That long run started out really rough for me and ended really fantastically for me. I'm pretty darn exhausted right now, so we're gonna go through this one really quick. I've said a lot already about the Skechers Aero Razor. There's a few things I wanted to add to what I've already said today. But first, a little bit of an overview about the run. I just was not feeling it this morning. I was really grumpy. I didn't sleep particularly well. And that contributed to me, not wanting to leave the house. And then when I left the house, it was all snowy. And you know how it goes when the weather isn't what you expect. However, I got to around just before Park Ave, and that's when I started to settle into the run. And so that's when I started to pick up the pace a little bit. But for the first at least 6 miles, I was at like below my daily pace, well below my daily pace, in fact, and just sort of dragging my feet, setting up some camera shots. I got some really cool camera shots that were fun to set up. It's always a challenge when you have a certain amount of city that is safe to run in from all of the snow, that you have these parameters to work with to film and to run in. And it's interesting how you manage to keep things fresh. I'm sure you all do this on your own runs. There's games that we as runners play to try to stave off the boredom of the repetitive routes that we run. And so I was playing a little bit of those games early on, sort of just suffering through the run. But then as I got to around mile 6 and started to bomb down Park Ave, I started to feel relatively good. And then, around, I was saying this during the recap, but around mile 10, middle school kid was like, "Stay hard." And I was like, you know what, man? You're right. I'm going to stay hard. And so I was already kind of blasting at that point, I think. I can't remember which came first, the stay or the hard. But I was either already staying hard and that kept me going, or that was the inciting incident. I can't remember, but I got some pretty good pace for a series of 3 miles. I was hovering around marathon pace. One, I hit marathon pace dead on, or I mean, my previous marathon pace, not my target, because that still seems like a distant pipe dream to me right now. But it was really good to get, it was like 7:04, and then 6:57, which was my previous marathon pace. And I was able to hang on in the mid to low 7s after that point. So the whole back half of the run was way, way quicker than the first half of the run. So that was the run today, right? That's the overview of the run. And it just felt really good to hit those back half 10 at such an elevated pace. And in a shoe that really isn't specifically assistive. So what I learned that I haven't expressed already to you all about the Skechers Aero Razor is that when this is going at daily pace, it doesn't give you all that much. It's not like begging you to go quickly. It kind of feels normal in a way, like not even kind of, it feels very normal, very much like a daily trainer, just at your daily training pace. So if you're in no mood to be running quickly, I don't think that this is going to impede that for you. I think you'll be able to run whatever pace that you want to run in this. So that's good, but it doesn't give that assistiveness that something like a super shoe or a super trainer like the Mega Blast gives an assistiveness. But with that assistiveness also comes an urgency, or like it incites you to run quicker, whether you want to or not. And I don't think that the Aero Razors does that at all. And I also don't think that I get as much out of the foam when I'm running slowly, which, that could be a pro or a con for some people. I think for a daily trainer, that's an extremely good quality because it allows you to run whatever pace that you want to run. But if you are running in a lot of very assistive shoes, this might not feel quite as assistive, because really it's a lot more flexible than most shoes. So that's a component of it. It's nearly as flexible as the Glycerin Flex is. I do think also the foam has definitely settled into what it's going to be for its lifespan, where it's not softening up anymore, but it is a lot softer than the first run that I had in this. And that's a huge boon to its cause, I think, not just for me, but for all of you, anybody that's interested in trying this. If you run in this once and you're getting firmness as the primary sensation, that does actually change over time, and then it'll settle into
something between maybe the firmness of the Mega Blast and something slightly softer. I can't think of a great example right now because it's not like maybe between the Mega Blast and the FF Leap. I haven't run an FF Leap in a while, so I'm hesitant to make any strong claims about it. But it's certainly not like soft, right? And even to the touch along the sidewalls here, it feels like it's a little softer than when I first got the shoe. So it's changed a little bit, but it sort of has already stopped changing. This was something that I noticed after the second run, that it was a little softer than when I initially ran in it, and then it sort of leveled off. So it's not deteriorating, it's just it broke in a little bit. Other things that I've continued to notice is that this feels like an extension of my foot. It really, really matches how I land on the ground, how my foot is shaped, and how my foot feels. It fits very, very well. Yeah, and I do think that this was perfectly fine for the long run. I think there could be like more protective shoes for long runs, but this is not, it feels lower stack than the stats suggest. The Anti C2027, from the best of my knowledge, is 3428, so it's even lower than the Aero Razor, but I would say the Aero Razor feels lower than that. And also, I think that the flexibility in the Aero Razor has something to do with how it feels close to the ground. Also, there's no plate in the Aero Razor. I mean, there's the H-wing, composite material, like H-plate in the forefoot, but the lack of a full-length plate probably contributes to the amount of compression that the foam is able to have underfoot, and so I don't really know. I'm making guesses here, but it does feel lower than the C2027, despite having a very similar and higher claimed stack height. And I don't know if this is something that we could see visually. Let's see if we could line this up. So like that, and like that. I don't know, yeah, well, I'll look at that in post to see what we see. We'll even do one of these, see what it's like. Yeah, I mean, they're very similar in stack height for sure. It's hard to say what feels lower about the Skechers to me. Maybe it's just a more compressive foam, because the foam in the C2027 has a plate in between it and it's pretty dense TPE. Maybe this is just that much more of a dynamic foam. Either way, where I was going with all of this, it wasn't to say that this feels like a low stack shoe, even though it sort of does. It also feels plenty protective for a long run. I mean, I just did 20 miles in this. I feel fairly fresh. It's the biggest week that I've run since my marathon, since before my marathon. And 63 of the miles this week were in this lower stack, like lower drop shoe. So it's not, I don't think that this is actually any less protective than something higher stack, but it almost feels like it. It's very strange, hard to describe what I'm experiencing in this, but I think that this is, and the people that are scared off by the 4mm drop need not be scared off by the 4mm drop, because it doesn't exactly feel like a 4mm drop. And it's important to remember that when you have foams that are this dynamic, it's really hard to measure, a drop under load. Like, sure, a static drop of 4mm is what's in the marketing copy, but how relevant is that when you're maybe not even going to be landing on the heel for this shoe, because it's very forefoot dominant, and the heel stack at 32, that's plenty. That's what you're already running in for most shoes. That's the forefoot stack in the Saucony Endorphin Azura, and that's plenty protective. Granted, that's a firm shoe, or at least it is for me, but yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, don't let the 4mm drop put you off from this, because I don't know how much that even really matters in 2026. Especially with the foam that's in this. The foam that's in this is really, really good. I don't know if it rises quite to the level of FF Turbo Squared, but is one of my favorite foams right now for sure. And it just helps so much that this shoe works so well for me, even besides the foam. You could probably put an EVA in this shoe and I would still like it. Like that's how much I think the overall fit and the rocker in the front and yeah, just like the structure of it, the stability from being flatter to the ground. Like, I don't really know. It's still one of those ineffable qualities about this shoe that just really connects with my stride. And I think that what I also noticed today, the last thing that I noticed today was just how different it feels at different pace ranges, where when you're at your daily training paces and below, it feels like a daily trainer. When I started to get the legs turning over and get some speed into my legs, I had one stride that I got down to 540, and I felt really quick in this. And it's like, it almost feels like you're going faster than you are sometimes because this is, like I said, it's not an assistive shoe, but it has something of the, it's really, really hard to describe. It has something of the Streak Fly 2 about it with the flingage. There's like flingage going on where I don't know, it feels like this bends and goes pop. Like it's like leverage. It's like it bends just enough and flings you forward at really intense, like high level paces that it's reminiscent, it rhymes with the Streak Fly 2 in that regard only. There's not very much similarity besides that, but there's like it's like a bendy sort of catapulty sensation underfoot at really quick paces that I really enjoy in this. And when I was hitting down into marathon pace for those 3 miles, it didn't feel all that different than a super shoe. At slower paces, it feels very different than a super shoe. It does not feel anywhere near as assistive. But at the faster end, it felt like I was getting quite a bit more out of the foam and out of the geometry. And those are the two things that I think contribute to why this is so quick, and maybe a little bit of the flexibility, but there's a snap to the flexibility in this, there's a rebound to the flexibility. So it's flexible in one direction, but once you get far enough into the flex, it like ding, and then you're off. Yeah, I really ran out of English to try to describe that. So when I start making verbal sound effects, it's my cue to myself that it's time to say goodbye to you all. So thank you very much for watching. And as always, stay in motion.